Having a floor fellow is really awesome because there's someone who you know is living on your floor, but they're not just a regular student. Like, there's someone who definitely knows McGill a lot better than anyone else would.
Coming to McGill, I was very scared of being homesick, of not being able to adapt to the new environment and not being able to make new friends.
First year can be like an overwhelming feeling, especially if you're from another country.
Yeah.
And you don't know anyone when you come here for the first time. So having a floor fellow and like having all the bonding events, it's really nice.
I came from 6 hours away, so having a floor fellow, like someone who's been through it already, was really important for me to see, like, okay, like I can do this, I can live without my parents.
I'm from Montreal, so I mean, it's not necessarily the new city, but just like adjusting and everything. And a floor fellow, like to me, it's kind of like you kind of have like a friend and a support system in one. Since they're students, they're relatable, but since they've been here longer, they can help you.
Throughout the year, it was, for me, like really important to have that, especially as it like kind of got more difficult and you would get more stressed out. It just, for me, became so important to have that.
Whenever I would have trouble, I would just go to my floor fellow and she was ready to listen all the time.
Having someone who I felt comfortable talking to them about whatever was really nice. I knew that there wouldn't be any judgment.
Obviously, there are many psychological and social aspects that come with living with over 200 people for a whole year. So the floor fellow is also an amazing mechanism for coping with any problems that students may have.
Last fall, I had a really bad case of mono. Like, I almost got hospitalized. It was so bad. And my floor fellow, like, I don't know, he was always like messaging me, making sure I was okay, like if I needed anything. Like, he brought me soup and stuff, which was really great. So I don't know, just made sure I didn't die. So
I think second day of university, I was biking, I got hit by a car, and then I got a concussion, and that was really terrible. Somehow, like, my floor fellow, like, figured out that I, like, even though I was kind of like resisting, she knew that this person knew that I like needed support and I needed to talk about it, and not even just talk, but just like to like process and be with somebody and process.
First year and like throughout my entire life, I've like suffered from like pretty intense like anxiety and depression, and like that was like especially amplified first year with all the new stuff that I was experiencing. All of like November and December, I had like really intense anxiety to the point where I couldn't like wake up at like I couldn't do anything until like 4 p.m. usually. And like I remember my floor fellow like would always be checking up on me, like just texting me and being like, hey, like how are you feeling today? And like it was so important for me in those moments to like feel like someone cared and to feel like I could go to someone. And like when I was with my floor fellow, I just like felt so safe in a way that like I guess I didn't feel at other times. Also, I think it's really important that my floor fellow filled like a really important like institutional need. Like I consulted like McGill Mental Health and like didn't really receive a really high quality of like therapy or like a really high quality of support in that context. And yet my floor fellow, like when I went up to them, were so much better at like supporting me and just kind of, I don't know, were so much more helpful in supporting me and like really filled that like gap. And yeah, like having that very consistent support at that really rough time in my life was like probably like, yeah, like life-saving. It was, yeah.
For me, having a floor fellow there to just help out with like my personal experiences with coming out were kind of really important, just because like it can be hard to do, and having someone to check in with can be really helpful, and I know for me it was.
Like I remember at the beginning of the year we did Res Project, and I thought that was really great to see because you hear all sorts of things about, you know, living like in a dorm or, you know, living in Res or whatever, and it's good to know that the people there, you know, care about you, and you know, the whole like safe space concept. You know, having Res Project at the beginning of the year really showed what the floor fellows' priorities were, you know, harm reduction, anti-oppression. You knew it feeds back into that whole like support system thing. You know that this is a priority for them, and it kind of makes it a priority for you as well.
Coming from like a small town, I didn't know a lot of things about, you know, like gender norms, gender equality, or a lot of things that we learn in res projects. So like coming into second year now, it like really has shown me how important all of these values are, and like learning them in first year and in res was like really educational and something that I probably won't forget ever.
I felt like there were just always conversations going, like in the Tuesday tea hangouts, about racism and sexism and feminism and everything. It was just like constantly part of the conversation in res, and that was so important.
For me, having anti-oppression as like a core value of the Floor Fellows was really important to my first year experience, just because it set the tone for first year right from the get-go, like knowing that like I would feel safe in res, and that if I wouldn't feel safe, that's a problem, and like they're there to make sure that that is the case.
I think the harm reduction policy is like really, really important.
It's interesting because I actually transferred from a university in the US where the drinking culture is just totally different. Like our floor fellow equivalents, RAs, in our dorm would literally like flag people, and like if they saw people drinking, like they could just take you to the residence council, and like you can get into so much trouble.
If they are looking over their shoulder knowing that they might get in trouble, I don't think that's going to be enough to stop them from doing it in the first place. So it's almost like they're going to be hiding it from their floor fellow, from their whatever they are, which I just think is a negative experience for students, because then they don't have somebody they can go talk to. They don't have like someone who they feel comfortable explaining what happened if something happens throughout the night.
I think people harm themselves a lot less because of that open conversation, which is not at all what happened in the States. In the States, it was the complete opposite.
I think res is definitely an environment where people like gets like through floor fellows like get a lot of support, but I also think, like I was saying before, like res is an environment where people learn to support people, and people learn how to actively listen through watching their floor fellow, and like learn how to conduct anti-oppressive behavior like through their floor fellow. And floor fellows do facilitate a really, really important learning experience for a lot of students.
You don't just get like a person that's there, like you get a friend, you get someone that'll always listen to you and stuff, like and just kind of take care of you, not like
babysitting,
yeah,
but when you need help with anything, they're there for you.
My floor fellow was also really important in the way that they were a role model to me, and they kind of like showed me the way and like kind of inspired me to be a better person. So I think that's important to have